Oh, what's good, everybody? Hello, hello. What's good, everybody? This is JP checking in live, respectmyregion.com. We're here on another episode of the Michigan Cannabis Podcast.
Yes,
Our
sir.
turn today brought to you guys by Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs, our premier partner for all things testing, whether it's potency, pesticides, heavy metals, terpenes, or R&D analysis. InfiniteCAL has got you guys. They care about the numbers. They care about the science. They put together literally consumer safety programs with different groups. That's why they're our partners. Make sure you guys reach out if you have any questions about that. We've got a very special guest today, Tyler Hall of Kinship Cannabis, of who I met at Flower Expo
Yes,
almost
sir.
a year ago, coming up.
Yeah.
It's good to see you again, brother. I've been following your journey on Facebook. I've been living vicariously in Michigan through you and all the fun shit you get into. And so, how you living? Where are you tuning in from today?
Man, I appreciate that. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm glad to be able to connect with you again, chop it up. It's been, like you said, almost a year since we saw each other. I've been also watching everything you've been getting done, seeing all the other podcasts and just all the good work you guys are doing. You and Abel are going crazy.
Appreciate that, bro.
Love being able to support you guys. Absolutely. I'm down here in Jackson, Michigan, well closer to Parma, Michigan, but definitely no one, people are already barely going to know Jackson, so you're definitely not going to know Parma because it's a village. So, but that's where we're at right now. I'm coming live and proud from the cultivation right now. You got my cultivation workflow whiteboards that are clear because it's
There we,
Friday afternoon right now. You know what I
there
mean?
we
So,
go.
hell yeah, right? Trying
So,
to get going.
Kinship Cannabis is the name of the brand.
Yes, sir.
And how did that name come about? And what all are the products you guys offer currently today?
So Kinship came together after the owners, who are three brothers, decided to create the brand after their oldest brother passed away from Lou Gehrig's disease. So before he passed, he was prescribed Marinol, which is a synthetic cannabinoid pill. He's prescribed that from U of M, and he told them pretty much every day, this is the only medication that's really helping me. It's helping my pain. It's making me hungry. And after he passed, they really realized what that meant. So they all kind of stepped away from that idea of the caregiver black market, and they realized that they could actually take care of people, help wellness and conditions and ailments with cannabis and the research and science behind it. So kinship is supposed to represent that, the kinship that comes from smoking cannabis and trying to perceive that, the health and medicine onto each other, the wellness, and actually trying to do something with the product instead of just selling product, right? You know what I mean? So the whole idea with kinship is that when you come to the brand, you consume the brand, you interact with us, that you feel like you're part of the family, and you understand that we're here for better intentions for you than just trying to consume cannabis.
It's bigger than just consumption with Kinship.
Absolutely, 100%.
Tyler, what is your official role with the company? What is your official title?
So I am Chief Executive Officer over here. We are a small company. We have the cultivation and retail here in LBA and Parma. It's really weird jurisdiction for the zoning. We also have another location in Riverview and another location we are building out in Taylor. So that'll be pretty locked down in the downriver area. But yeah, we're just killing the game over here.
I love that, man. That's incredible for you. And it sounds like there's a lot of expansion, which means that the products you guys have been growing and manufacturing must be doing well for you guys to be able to see this continued growth. What are some of the strains you're growing in? Is it all indoor or tell me a little bit about that?
So yeah, we're all indoor. Whole facility is running indoor. We run a pretty small facility. I've got about 8,000 square feet of canopy space. I run a Class C, so I mean 2,000 plants. I do 5 flower rooms with a monocrop, so that's one strain per room, and I'm only harvesting twice a month. So our entire intention with all the rooms is to put the utmost ability into the girls. That way, they give us the strongest and best fruit that they can. We run off of a rock wool system, so I'm running really lean and clean, making sure I'm paying attention to my nutrients, giving the girls what they need to, making sure I'm paying attention to those drybacks, and kind of just trying to pump up the terpenes as much as I can, as well as trying to emphasize the structure of the plant. I really like the ability to kind of directly feed what I want when it comes to nutrients in the plant. I don't add any PGRs, so I'm able to kind of, if I have 5 flower rooms, 5 different genetics, which is the usual go, every room looks, smells, everything about it is completely different, and I'm able to like really look at those details of the bud and be able to tell that, because for us it's the entire experience, right? I have Crohn's disease myself. I know we talked about this back at Flower Expo, but being that I'm a medical patient, I consume a lot of cannabis. I'm consuming it for certain reasons, and there is an entire, I don't want to say a routine, but like almost a ritual behind it. Like when you get the bag, when you open the bag, and you get to look at the nugs, the nug size, and look at the structure and how it breaks down, what it smells like, rolling it up and then lighting it up. That entire thing is important to a lot of smokers and consumers. So we want to make sure that from start to finish in that ritual for you, that you're impressed and happy with what you got.
I think that's really important to have the like a passion for it beyond the business. And that you have something relatable to so many people and their reason for cannabis use is also admirable as well.
Appreciate that. Yeah, found myself here directly because of that. I found myself in a non-healthy situation and wanted to see better in my life and see my body feel better. Found that in cannabis, realized where you can actually strengthen yourself, where the medicine actually lies from, the science behind it, and I have kind of never turned back from trying to be that advocate.
What are some of your favorite strains you guys are running right now?
So right now, I'm really excited about our Calhoun Cream, which is a brand new genetic for us. We're really excited about that. We're out here in Calhoun County. It's a gelato and jealousy cross coming in from Secret Society Seed Co. So a funny little thing for you because you're not from Michigan. You know Secret Society Seed Co., the genetic breeder, right? Creator of Titty Sprinkles and Lurch.
Okay.
So that guy is here from Michigan. His name is Tyler Hall. It's
Oh
not
wow.
me. Yeah, he's
Same
a buddy
different
of
dude.
mine.
That's crazy.
Yep, same dude, same name, different dude. Pretty cool guy. I get some genetics from him, so pretty happy with that. I've got another genetic that's really going off called Iced Animal Cookies, and that's a Sea Junkie genetic. It's one of their Z Animal crosses. It's lemon cherry gelato and Z Animal. And then I've got just the old school winners for us, the Lilac Cookies, which is that one I showed you, the lavender
Yep.
bag. That's
Yep.
mainstay for us. Every time we pull out a harvest of that, it always does really well. So we're really just out here in our area in Albion. We have a really strong community for our flower. We have really strong connections with all of our customers. So when they come in, we're really telling them like, hey, what are you consuming for? Are you still being troubled by the same ailments as last time? How's your arthritis? How's the endometriosis? We're really trying to point them in the right direction, be it our own product or someone else's. At the end of the day, education is the name of the game. So when it comes to our product, and the terpenes on the back of them, I'm really excited to be pushing out the new strains like Calhoun and Ice Animal Cookies because they have these profiles that are so good for inflammatory effects as well as like sleeping problems. Like if you have sleep apnea or if you're having really strong problems of insomnia, the linalool present in these strains is like high enough to actually give you some help.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm really happy about.
It's important to look at these other residual cannabinoids beyond THC, CBD, and THCA, right?
Yep.
And how those all play an impact into the desired effects people each individual has.
Oh
Whether
yeah. I mean,
whether they're
CBD.
thinking about it and they realize it or not.
I mean, some people do and some people don't. I mean, like you have to understand that the miscommunication from people on a retail aspect to a consumer aspect. I mean, think about it right now. If you walk in a store and you see distillate carts on the wall, we're both consumers. We understand there's no such thing as a sativa or a hybrid or a indica cart, but these consumers all day are saying, no, I only want sativa 510s. I only want indica 510s. Well, my friend, that's all flavoring. There's no actual sativa indica hybrid effects from there from just THCA. So it is, it comes down to a lot of that miscommunication. So that's where that's that niche we kind of fall into there is trying to, create the live resins that have the full spectrum in there and kind of show off like the lilac cookie strain we have has a huge amount of CBG in it as well as the CBD. So being able to showcase the CBGA, CBG, CBD, and the terpene profile, which is terpinolene and cis-beta
People don't
oxidase.
even realize that the reason they like your lilac cookie so much is because of all those other cannabinoids. That's what they need to.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
wonderful because of the CBG and the THC all working together, and the CBD that's still in it, and whatever else is across that COA.
Full entourage, the true like that is what we mean when we say entourage effect. I know nowadays that's been marketed to shit, but an entourage effect is when you can actually feel the psychoactive from the tetrahydrocannabinol, but then you also feel the body calming effects of the CBD. And you're also getting a little bit of hungry from whatever terpenes are in there. When you're feeling all of those at once, and that's your intensity of your high, that is an entourage effect. And I think that's the kind of education that needs to be pushed forward a little bit more.
Tyler, what was your background before this? Because I listened to you, and it's like there's a very high level understanding of a variety of things from what I'm gathering. And so, what did you do before cannabis, and how have you gathered this experience, seemingly at such a young age?
Well, I appreciate you calling me a young guy. I feel like it sometimes. I would say so. Before I've been with Kinship for 3.5 years. Before I was with Kinship, I was with Platinum Vape here in Michigan for about 3 years with the original owners, the Sadlers. And before that, I actually wasn't in legal cannabis. I mean, obviously, caregiver. I think most people in Michigan had their hand in caregiver and kind of grew up in that aspect, at least being around the plant. Uh, I actually went to school here in Michigan. To college of the university called Ferris State, and I was there on a track scholarship to run track to do long jump hurdles. And I actually started passing out at practice, and I lost 75 pounds over the course of 3 months. And I
Wow.
was medically discharged from school with some complications, and that was what led me onto the path of finding out that I was diagnosed with Crohn's. So for about a year and a half, conventional medicine here, because this is like 2015, 2016 when that was happening. Conventional medicine is still, it was a lot worse then, really negative towards cannabis and cannabis users. So I'm having all these stomach issues and all these, uncomforts and constantly throwing up and going to the hospital. And every time they just kept telling me that I had cannabis hyperemesis. And I think the main thing that made me push into cannabis and start researching and figuring things out myself and paying attention to webinars and seminars and trying to get involved in all this stuff is the fact that I had three different doctors tell me with no colonoscopy and no scope in my stomach that I had cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, which is a condition that you can't even actually diagnose somebody with because there's no test that can show a proper diagnosis. Like we understand that the cannabis, the intake of excess cannabinoids causes the cannabis hyperemesis, but we have no way to tell if someone is actually ailed with it until they are displaying the signs. So when I started finding that out myself and started, going back to smoking cannabis and finding myself not hurting, I was like, all right, well, obviously my doctors aren't talking about something, and they weren't. The endocannabinoid system is not a project that is really spoken about a lot in the in the American healthcare system, and that's really unfortunate. The cannabinoid and endocannabinoid are molecularly the same, so we should be able to look at the alternative medicine. It should be more widely spread and talked about.
Yeah, I agree. That education is going to be huge, and getting that out to more people, the impact will obviously scale
Yeah,
much greater at that point. Michigan has been troubled with a lot of different things, Tyler. So we like working with Infinite. We like working with their group because they're real big on, you know, consumer safety. They're real big on accurate test results and the science there. Obviously, there's a for profit element where you're required by state law to get your products tested. There's only so many groups.
yeah.
Um, walk people through what it's like having to handle the testing for your business and that what's that process like, and talk a little bit, if you can, about what it's like dealing with these bad operators that are undercutting the market with either conversion oil or packs from weed and flower from other states, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the entire issue here in Michigan. I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. I'm well known in the circles here in the space for not sugarcoating it. I have a pretty strong opinion on it. I operate a small cultivation as well as a small retail. I don't compete in the processing purchasing power. I don't compete in the amount of door swings and throughput in a day. So my contribution to the actual economic goal of Michigan is pretty small compared to everyone else. That being said, it's really unfortunate to know that there are as many people as there are in my same shoes that are unable to do what we want to because of these bad players. I mean, to walk you through the process from start to finish so you understand what we're doing and then what we're dealing with. We spend on average 16 weeks is what it takes from a clone to end of flower life before we get, for harvest day into the dry
Four
room.
months.
Yep, 4 months. So 16 weeks of that, plus another 2 to 3 weeks of dry cure, plus another week of trimming and packaging, and that's what gets your product ready. So a 5 month process to get these pounds out. With me, I do 60 pounds on average of A, B, and C flower per harvest. So I'm genuinely trying to make sure that twice a month I maximize profit on that. It costs on average anywhere between $400 and $550 a month per pound on the cost. Like we have a lot of problems here in Michigan. You have to take a lot of extra steps to deal with the weather. You have to, make sure you have the extra backup generation, the extra HVAC and dehumidification as well in your system in your facility.
Yeah,
There's
you
even
guys got to deal with tornadoes. You guys got to deal with blizzards. You guys got to deal with lightning, everything, right?
we get it
Except
all.
for earthquakes and volcanoes. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, we're all good on the earthquakes. Ohio felt one a little bit ago, but we're all good on earthquakes over here. I mean, but every other thing that you can think of besides the locust plague, we're getting it here. So we all have to pay attention to those. And it's really unfortunate to know that you do all this work. You have an entire staff of people that put their all for 5 months per harvest into these plants. Make beautiful flower, really proud of it, and then when you send it into testing, immediately it's all invalidated because there are so many people here in Michigan that don't care about actual testing potency. I mean, we were in the middle of an embargo on potency for 4 years. The same way Oklahoma is in the middle of an embargo on microbial testing, Michigan was in that exact same situation for potency testing, and nobody wanted to speak about it. There was a lawsuit between the state of Michigan and a very prolific testing lab here in Michigan. It was held up for 4 years, and it just finalized last month where the state finally won. But for 4 years, nobody could get in trouble from the state for testing potency because they were in the middle of the lawsuit for it. So it's been no man's land, and it just became a situation of, oh, my weed's ready to go into testing. I can call 10 different testing labs, and they're all going to give me a different price, a different turnaround time, and they're all going to try to see who can give me the highest THC potency before I get skeptical and don't want to give them my business anymore. So for us,
Dang,
we
so
use
there's some of that happening too. Well,
yes.
padding the stats and fluffing it just to keep their business going without even
I mean,
communicating.
I want you to give me your personal opinion. If I told you that the state average for THC potency in the state of Michigan was 28%, what's your opinion on that? Average. There's over 680 cultivation licenses here in the state of Michigan, and the THC average is supposed to be
My
28.
honest first opinion of that is it sounds like it's leveled out a little bit.
I mean, but so when you think about
But
it, when
there
you
was
think
a
about it,
time when that shit was there had to have been a time when that shit was 32, no 34.
potency.
Yeah.
So, but when you think about it like that, like just like basic science, right? A cannabinoid is a crystal at its base, unless you're talking about an acid base of it. So THCA, CBGA, CBDA, those are not crystalline but acid structures. But we're talking about tetrahydrocannabinol or any CBD, CBG, CBN, so total cannabinoid score. We're talking about crystalline. So if I have a flower that says it's 33% THC and it's approaching 47% total cannabinoids, that means that's 47% of a crystal in my
Oh,
hand.
I understand the science doesn't make sense, but from a consumer walking in the store and you just look around, I mean, in
Exactly. Yes.
California, you can still see 28 to 36 is pretty commonplace. Stuff lower than that's going to be sun grown
Yep.
ultimately.
And it's funny because those numbers, it's almost like we're just reaching a point in time where the numbers just don't matter anymore. And it's really unfortunate because how can you teach a customer if all we're doing is giving the customers a basis of sale based on THC potency and the number itself? You know what I mean? Like Lilac Cookies is a great example of that. I get 3.5% terps on that, but the strain doesn't crack 21% THC. For that reason, I barely sell the flower because it's not the THC people want. But I also am hard pressed to find another strain that has medicinal benefits on that same level for somebody in my shoes with Crohn's disease. So
Yeah.
it's this pool. And then on top of that, I mean, like that's one issue, right? The testing labs, the false potency, that's one issue. Then there's another issue with pricing. We're at the floor, right? And that comes in from the black market stuff too. But when you have caregiver flower and hemp flower being converted into THCA, which is then distilled into distillate, so converted liters, and when those are entering the market as much as they are in Michigan, we all lose. The state of Michigan is assuming that in 2024, almost 35% of all cannabis products sold in retails was from the illicit market.
No way. Really? That's such a high number.
Extremely high number, and because of that, you know what the price of bulk is in the state of Michigan? It's sub $600. The average price of a
For
bulk
indoor
pound
pounds?
for a pound of flour is sub $600 in Michigan,
Wow.
average.
That's crazy. Some of the struggles for you guys to overcome. Hearing it, wow, absolutely incredible. For those of you guys watching Michigan Cannabis Podcast, another powerful episode here today. We've got Tyler Hall, CEO, Kinship Cannabis, a smaller, we'll call it boutique craft situation down there. Just because you're scaling to have other sites doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden pop up 57 rooms in these big buildings, I would assume.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm not even from a product standpoint. There's definitely people that grow a better flower than me. Like, I mean, any grower in the state is going to tell you that they're the best grower 100%, but they're all facetious, just genuine opinion. There's so many people that grow better flower than I do. It comes down to build things like the building, access to genetics, the team, so on and so forth. With that being said, I'm not really stressed about competition. This sounds super cocky to say, but like I know my product is good, at least better than 60% of the flower in the state of Michigan. The issue that it comes down to then is, the marketing behind it, the pricing, the relationships. A lot of people, don't do actual business, but they try to do these handshake deals that they can pull out of any time. They try to change the price of flour when it arrives at their store So it's like, oh, we just worked on something for 2 weeks. Now that everything's in your store, you're gonna, ask for a lower price or just reject the order, and it just adds to a lot of bad business. There's, the combination of bad pricing, false potency testing, converted leaders, and illicit flower, as well as just like the kind of unfavoring market for the oversaturated retails here in Michigan. It's just becoming a dog eat dog world. Like people with
Yeah.
proper product don't prevail. It's the people that have proper marketing and outlets for that. But I hope to see some good times in the air. A lot of people in Michigan have, their opinions on the CRA, which is our cannabis regulatory agency. That's our Michigan branch of cannabis law. Lots of opinions, lots of strong opinions, and I can't fault those people. I can't, argue with them about their own opinions. I just hope I hope the best from CRA. I hope that they really are trying to implement things that are going to help out. Some of the stuff seems heavy-handed, but I mean, we're at such a point in time where if we really did have 35% of our state selling illicit material last year, then yeah, I think we need to be heavy-handed in the way that we're responding. But I
Yeah, some
mean,
accountability needs to be had, and some repercussions need to be seen visibly, so that way people can be afraid to get caught and to do it in the first place. I think if they're just going to let things slide, then people don't have any reason not to do it.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's the main issue is like Michigan posts bulletins of all of the CRA fines that they do every month. And you read some of these fines, and it's like, okay, you're fining some people $8,000 for things like having drinks on the floor of the bud room, or having, like, and like having, what are they called? The little, like, a mug cup with no lid on it inside of like the trim room, right? Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's definitely wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. It's definitely against state law and also health codes. But an $8,000 fine for that versus someone gets caught with 20 pounds of caregiver flower in their store and they get put under investigation and pay a $20,000 fine.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
not.
okay, that's not enough. Like, I apologize, but I'm a firm believer of, like, you shouldn't get a second chance. You got caught with caregiver flower, your license is forfeit. See you later. We already have an oversaturation problem here, and the state of Michigan doesn't care about the oversaturation problem because every time someone opens a new license, they get an application, they get money from it. That's new tax revenue. That's new wholesale revenue. So for them, they love as many licenses coming in. They don't care that we're all killing each other as much as we are. So it gets a little dastardly out here for sure. The navigation gets a little interesting. That's where it is nice to find partners that have the same goal and mindset. There's a lot of small mom and pop shops out here. Working with people like InfiniteCAL is actually like very beneficial because that's a brand that comes from California and with prestige, and they know what they're talking about. They come in and they have really strong testing, and they don't really care about giving you those tests. They care about giving you an honest test, and that's a
Yeah,
completely different standard. Michigan has such crazy standards already. I mean, to pass recreational, you have to pass 100,000 CFUs on microbial, and to pass medical, it's 10,000 CFUs. I think in some other states, most other states, it's like 300,000 CFUs to pass recreational. So we're
wow.
already a third, yeah, a third of the way tighter than that you guys are. Medical goes into a tenth of the way.
It's huge. There's so many variables that go into what make your guys's what makes cannabis difficult to succeed in, and then obviously operating in multiple states. In that instance you were just talking about, that's got to be tough. Different standards, different rules, different things, and then being, like you were also talking about, there is having these people operate unethically. I think that's definitely tough to overcome. Um, with you guys, you're only, pumping out, 60 pounds on each of these harvests. It's not a ton of weed in terms of the current reality, right? Over the course of a year. How many locations would you say you guys are in? You guys in a bunch of stores across the state, or are you guys limited to, I guess, a couple, or how does that work?
So I mean, we have our own retail directly next to cultivation. Definitely offload a ton of flower there. But I'm in about, I want to say, 34 other retails right now. It's a smaller
Nice.
amount, but I also have such a small amount of flower that I
Yeah.
can't do too much more than that.
No, I'm asking more so just to find out, to see where
Yeah,
people
no, no, yeah.
find the
Just
good stuff at. That Lilac Cookies. I'm gonna need to pull up out there in Michigan and go pick that up again.
hey, next time you're out here, you can come through for the cultivation and actually see the whole tour, like I told you last time.
Let's go. Let's
Fresh
go.
bag. We keep everything in grow bags. Everything. My storage room is a humidor room, so we keep everything in grow bags inside of that humidor space. So like, if I lock some weed in at 51% humidity, it's stuck there until I change it.
That's pretty dope. What would you say really separates, or maybe it makes you guys unique? in your guys' cultivation? Is there something in there? Is it the team? Is it the genetics that you guys got? Is it the methodology, the processes? What really makes you guys unique or special in the cultivation side of your business, Tyler?
I think it comes down to the team. Everyone who's been here in the cultivation for Kinship has worked here for over 3 years. We all really care. Everybody cares a little too much. I mean, like, we respond to the plants of the girls. We all are nipping at each other about the perfectionism behind it. The amount of detail that we take into the plants is kind of insane, and it's also the breadth of people. So, like, I've got 2,000 plants in here, and my entire harvest team is 3 people. So I've got my head grower, my propagation head, and 2 grow techs, and they're handling 2,000 plants. My post
Yeah.
harvest, which is all of the trimming, all of the debudding, all of the pre roll making, eighth, so on and so forth, that's another 3 people. And then managerial is myself, my assistant manager, and obviously the head grower I mentioned. So there's only 9 people here. So we're all cogs in this machine that all have designated parts, and we all understand where we fit in and understand that what we do is a smaller piece of a greater goal, which is to provide this medicine to people more so than just flower. So
Yeah.
everyone here, we all have very strong opinions on the flower we grow. We have very strong opinions on the terpene profiles present on them. And I think that being able to have a team that works together as tightly as that and communicates as much as they do, you are able to just see things come out of the building that you wouldn't normally see.
Man, I love the way that you communicate about the plant, brother. You definitely and I can definitely tell that you love what you do, and so this is a great part to transition to the next segment of the convo, which is about your guys's, like, some of your favorite items on your menu. So what would, if you could recommend 3 products to me, and why you would recommend those for me? So in situation one, yeah, my stomach. I got stomach issues just like you, whether it's Crohn's or IBS, or food just makes me sick, or maybe I'm just anxious pretty often. What's a good strain? That lilac cookies you is the one that you obviously talk about, but do you?
The lilac cookies and the face mints are the 2 strains that come to mind for me immediately when it comes to anything related to this, to the GI tract. And that's
Yeah,
just because anything that's related to your GI tract in the sense of conditions or ailments is going to be inflammatory based. So you're looking for something that's going to isolate and really attack that. And so the reason that I go back to lilac cookies is I actually picked that strain when we were doing the pheno hunt from a Crohn's flare. Like, I was in the middle of having a Crohn's flare at home. I was trying to avoid the hospital as much as I could. I didn't want to have to go get that steroid shot in my intestines. And so I smoked about 2.5, 3 grams of one of the phenos, and I took a nap. And when I woke up from the nap, my stomach was completely subsided. So not only did it help my stomach out, but it also put me to sleep because it was, pretty stronger on the indica side and the terps. The
yeah.
face mints has a very similar terpene profile with terpinolene and cis beta osmine as the top 2 terps, but the levels are so different that it has a completely different smell. It's almost this like lemon minty with a little bit of lavender in the back end, but the effects on your body are very much the same, kind of like an indica like on your body, really soothing on your stomach, and that's
Mm.
really the go-to for those two. When it comes to pain across the board, there's a lot of terps you can look at, but it really just depends on what kind of pain you're looking at because you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Like, am I relieving inflammation here? Am I trying to increase my cannabinoid count in my body and help out with my ECS value? Am I trying to smoke for something, like more mental based? There's a lot of differences and a lot of ways to approach that. So I think it's really good to have this, like these questions thrown my way too, because it allows me to, tell you guys why we do that with Kinship, because that's how we approach all of our strains and products.
I think that's powerful, man, and I appreciate you joining us for the episode. Now, before we get you out of here, I always like to give my guests the floor to talk about something that's important to them, to talk about something maybe just it could be an update. We've already been talking about things that have been important to you this whole episode. Maybe you guys have any updates coming up. It's Q2. Are there any new products that are people coming? You have these other cultivation sites opening up, things like that. What's to come with Kinship Cannabis the rest of this month and as we get into the summer? And what would and the floor is yours to promote or talk about something that's important to you.
All right, I'm gonna do 2 things then. I'm gonna talk about Kinship, and then I'm gonna promote something. And the promotion is gonna be an ideal. So Kinship's got a really exciting summer ahead of us for sure as we approach, and hopefully the end of the year as well. So we've unveiled 7 new genetics since January 1st this year. Really excited about all the genetics, and we're pushing on another 3 this summer. We have
Nice.
4 different entries going to Michigan's Best in Grass Cup. So I have a flower entry, a solventless, a solvent-based concentrate, and then a cartridge as well. So, putting all those in, three of those being concentrate collabs with, buddies of mine, Canopy and Leone Labs, and then the flower entry as well with our Jealous Jerry's. Well, we're up in the air between Jealous Jerry's and Cal and Cream, but just excited to be able to get our name on the board again and show off some of the new stuff we're doing. These genetics are so healthy and so brand new that they are just doing everything I want them to in the facility. They look good, they smell good, they taste good, and we're just excited to get that stamp out. With the retail footprint expanding, we're hoping to start to see a little bit more kinship notoriety. Like we have a nice standing in the state of Michigan, but I'd love to have a fantastic standing. Obviously everyone wants to be a household name. I don't necessarily want to be a household name, but I want to be the go-to medicine brand.
Yeah.
So that's the whole idea over here with Kinship. We're hoping that we keep pushing on, chugging along the way we are, that we're going to see this change with the state and that the state's going to understand what's going on. Our flower sales are picking up, and these products, we're doing collabs pretty much every month with new partners, returning partners, donuts, vapes, 1 gram rosin buckets, live resin, canagars. There's a lot of stuff we got pumping out. So it's a really exciting time for us.
Oh,
I never had this many SKUs before, so it's really awesome to be able to, be pushing out and be requested to be making concentrates from and being told the flower is worth it. So that's always a really good time.
big
My
respect when the extract guys are saying that.
Yes, very, very big, especially when they're telling me the yield amounts and they're making me feel good about myself. Oof,
Terps,
lean
baby.
forward.
That means
Yeah,
you got your nutrients and everything and all that going right, and your lighting right, your water right, all that shit's going right.
yes, sir. And so very, very gratifying moments. The promotion I'd like to spread is promotion of an ideal, and so you gotta hear me out on this one. I like to talk about this one. So, are you aware of what Americans for Safe Access is?
I believe so.
ASA, yeah. So I'm loosely affiliated with the Michigan chapter here for ASA. Definitely need to be working a little bit harder. Just hands full with Kinship, but they've got my full support. So the founder and president of ASA, her name is Steph Scherer. I had a conversation with her back when all this started for me about a year and a half ago, and it's something that has rang true with me the entire time. So this is what I like to talk about. We call cannabis in America the cannabis industry. Okay. We all are aware that we're having this pitfall in this conversation of trying to get cannabis federally, legalized so that we can, branch into things like tax breaks as well as selling across state lines, maybe increase the economy, across the entire nation. There's a lot of pushback from it from the Republican government as well as government as a whole. I mean, you see it state by state. A lot of people are saying no. A lot of counties still say no, even when the state passes it. So there's a lot of misconception, a lot of stigma there. My question is, why it's almost two pronged, but why are we approaching the way we are? And why do we call this the cannabis industry? When I think of an industry, and Steph pointed this out to me, and this is an ideal that has truly rang through to me. When I think of an industry, it is a locked in subsect of a business. When I think of industry, the first things that come to my mind are textile industry, the automotive industry, the steel industry, architectural industry. All these industries are a subsect of business, but they're a specific type. Steel is probably the most aloof one that I gave you right there, but automotive industry means that it's only about vehicles. Textile means that it's all about text and fabrics, right? It's not branching into all these other things. Like if it's a textile factory, that doesn't mean that they're also going to be working with hemp-based paper products, even though that's technically around the same base. So when we look at the cannabis industry and we're talking about it on a federal scale, or we're even talking about it in your state or local government, and you say cannabis industry, cannabis industry, cannabis industry, and the only thing you talk about is recreational sales and creation, that means that you're telling the government all we care about is recreational cannabis. Well, we need to take that step back in the first place because cannabis didn't start off in every state on a recreational level. It started off in every state on a medical level, and now medical is being dropped by almost every state it's in. Cannabis is not a single industry. Cannabis is an entity and a sector. There is, there is what we're doing right now, recreational. There is medical. There's therapeutics. There's therapeutic health. There is research and development, and then there's also scientific research and development for things beyond cannabis medicine. Those are 5 different industries that all exist inside of cannabis. But when we say cannabis industry, all of those disappear, and it's only represented as recreational. So as a group and as cannabis professionals, we all need to start realizing that we are limiting ourselves when we say as simple of a sentence as I work in the cannabis industry. No, you work in an entire business sector that we are trying to provide into being an actual business sector. And being a Crohn's patient, I would love to see some research and development for cannabis immediately in the future. So I'm always going to push for that.
Yeah, it's important to have the proper framing so that way we speak to the right audience because there is when we focus on the recreational or the quote unquote the adult use side of cannabis, it does tend to leave the medical patients in the wind or standing outside in the cold. And
Yes.
that's really important because, as you did say, it was all originally passed and legalized based on medical conditions. And then now the same people are being kind of, they're being left out or they're not being considered in the business elements and aspects of this industry as well.
Yep.
Well,
1000%.
well, Tyler, I appreciate you for sharing that message for everybody today and to think about that. Something for us all to consider for sure and to think about as we continue to find our own ways to push the space forward.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for having some time for me to chat it up with you. I appreciate the spotlight you're even putting on Michigan as a whole. I appreciate everything that you guys do over at RMR. I think you're a hard worker. I think you're dedicated to the craft. And I just want to say thank you, man.
Come on, man. Tyler, I appreciate you being the homie and thank you for joining us today. For those of you guys watching another episode of the Michigan Cannabis Podcast, brought to you guys by Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Show them some love. Show our sponsor some love. Reach out to our sponsor if you have any questions about if you're a brand looking for, not better pricing, just accurate testing.
Accurate testing. You will
Accurate
never
testing.
do that.
That's really important for all you edible folks and all you people that claim dosing and all that kind of stuff's important for you guys. And so appreciate you, Tyler. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next episode.